Welcome back to my G1 Retro Reviews. Today, we're taking a look at the original Transformers series episode, War Dawn. Yes, as some of you pointed out in my previous episode review, Aerial Assault is kind of out of order, since it features the Combaticons before they were actually created. So I'll save that episode until after that. Instead, we'll be taking a look at the next episode, which is probably the best episode of the original Transformers series, War Dawn. In this episode, we learn the origins of Optimus Prime. We begin this episode with the Ariel bots chasing after the Seekers, who have apparently kidnapped some world leaders.
All this fuss over some stupid humans.
Stupid humans? They only happen to be half of this planet's leaders. From what I've been able to learn about this planet, they wouldn't be missed.
Wow, that's still true decades later.
There's only one way to get those Ariel bots off our tails, and that's the chumps!
Boy, there's a certain chump that I wish would get tossed out of an airplane. But being the good guys, the Ariel bots saved the world leaders, which kind of reminds me of that scene in Iron Man 3. Although I'm pretty sure that if you fell out of a plane and hit another plane, you'd still get hurt if this was real life. But this isn't real life, this is a cartoon. So the same logic applies as when Superman catches Lois in his arms or something, even though it should feel like landing on a pair of steel beams. Back at the Autobot base, the Ariel bots are fanboying over Starscream and the other Seekers. Boy, just wait until they discover shipping.
If you've been fighting those Decepticons creeps as long as we have, you wouldn't... That's the point, Ironhide. The Ariel bots were only created a few weeks ago. They'll understand soon enough.
Yep, I'm glad that I decided to do this episode instead of Aerial Assault. This lines up much better with the two-parter, The Key to Vector Sigma. After receiving some strange energy readings, the Autobots and Ariel bots board Omega Supreme and head back to Cybertron.
We get to go back to Cybertron? All right!
That's what I just said. Were you not paying attention? At the Decepticons' base, we see the Seekers repairing each other. It's kind of sweet seeing the Decepticons help one another. Aww, they're such cute boys helping fix each other. Soundwave then informs Megatron that the Autobots are heading to Cybertron.
They must have detected Shockwave's work on the chronosphere. Are the Ariel bots with them? Possible. Excellent. I may yet destroy those miserable jets.
He only said that it was possible, Megatron. You don't know for sure yet. We then learn about the MacGuffin of this episode.
What is this chronosphere, Megatron? A time machine.
Wait, hold up, Megs. Are you telling me that you built a time machine? Out of a ball?
I plan to use it to travel to the past, to steal energy from the era before the war, when Cybertron had plenty of power.
I mean, seriously, who would ever build a time machine in the shape of a... Oh, never mind. So, the Ariel bots, minus their leader, follow the Decepticons into a trap.
Incredible! They're so naive!
Well, they are babies. They were only just born a few weeks ago. Also, why are you sitting in the dark like Dr. Claw?
No, guys, don't! Don't you see it's some kind of a trap?
It's a trap!
Yes, a trap that you two just ran into. So, Shredder sends the turtles back in time. Oops, I mean Megatron sends the Ariel bots back in time.
The Ariel bots are trapped somewhere in the distant past of Cybertron.
How far in the past?
Judging by these coordinates, I'd say 9 million years.
How did Optimus get 9 million years from 708? Maybe that's the year? Maybe they were sent to the Cybertronian year of our Primus, 708 AQ, or after Quintessons. The Ariel bots arrive in the golden age of Cybertron, where they meet Orion Pax, a humble dock worker, his friend Dion, and his girlfriend Ariel. We even see Ariel give him a kiss on the cheek. Aww, so cute. And it's funny when you think about it, We rarely get to see two Transformers kiss in a Transformers cartoon. Even in Beast Wars, where we had Black Arachnia and Silverbolt, they always seemed to pan away or cut away whenever they kissed. I don't know, I just want to see more Transformers kissing. It's so cute.
You wanna steal a kiss from me?
Me Grimlock not kisser, me Grimlock king.
The Autobots then spot the Decepticons flying overhead. And it seems that their new friends are just amazed about them as the Ariel bots were.
Hey, maybe we should get to cover before they attack us.
Fireflight, we're in the past. Megatron doesn't know who we are.
How could Megatron not know who we are?
This is millions of years ago. We haven't been built yet.
I'm really starting to think that Fireflight doesn't understand how time travel works. And this is a guy who apparently has a level 7 intelligence on his tech spec.
I heard that their leaders put together some kind of army and attacked one of the outer cities.
No surprise, but Ariel is obviously the smart one of the group. While the others are away, for some reason. Seriously, it cuts to the other Autobots as if they're running back to the warehouse. I feel like there was a scene deleted here. Much like how in the previous two-parter, apparently there were scenes deleted. That's why they referenced an explosion, which we never saw.
What do you store here? Raw materials or energy?
Oh, we only store energy here.
Megatron is clearly not the brightest bulb, since he is surrounded by glowing energon. Yes, I'd say they store energy here. So, Megatron attacks, shooting Orion in the shoulder. Careful, I hear you can get killed that way. Just ask Brawn. And as Ariel charges Megatron, for some reason we get a shot of her butt as she runs past. Because of course we do. I mean, this is G1. I hope I don't have to remind you of some of the more risque parts that we've seen in previous episodes. And she gets shot in the boob. Aw, poor Ariel.
Oh my god, he shot me in the boob! What kind of shoots a girl in the boob?
You monster!
You know, for someone who was wowed by robots that can fly, you're doing a pretty good job of flying yourself there.
You can fly, you can fly, you can fly, you can fly, you can fly.
But, of course, Megatron blasts a hole in him. Almost casually. And we see Dion gunned down by Megatron's Decepticons. The Ariel bots find their new friends mortally wounded. In the current time, the Decepticons find a Guardian robot.
A warrior doesn't need a head, just a good, strong body.
Tell that to the headmasters. Back in the past, the Ariel bots are carrying Orion Pax when they stumble upon Alpha Trion, who looks at him and says that he has a strong spirit. I wonder if we could kind of retcon this and say what Alpha Trion meant is that he has a strong spark. Maybe a 0.1%er, like we learned of in the IDW comics, which Optimus Prime apparently was one. Speaking of which, after some time has passed, Alpha Trion presents us with the completely rebuilt Orion Pax, now called Optimus Prime. And he promises to do the same thing for Ariel.
A female warrior. I'll call her Elita 1.
But what about Dion? Who is he going to rebuild him as? The newly born Optimus mows down a battalion of Decepticons like this is a Michael Bay movie.
You? Who are you?
Your worst nightmare.
In the present, the other Autobots finish rebuilding the time machine when they are attacked by the Decepticons' headless Guardian robot. Back in the Golden Age, the Ariel bots sacrifice themselves to destroy the Energon supply in order to keep it out of the hands of the Decepticons. But luckily, they are saved by being transported back to the present. Or should I say, back to the future? Where they combine into Superion and defeat the Omega Supreme repaint.
Megatron! He's getting away!
You'll never get away from us, Don't stop fighting till you're finished! You hear?
Wow, Slingshot's over-the-top performance reminds me of Spider-Man's one.
Shocker! You can't escape me! I'll chase you to the ends of the earth!
And this episode ends with the Ariel bots telling Optimus that they knew him as Orion Pax.
So you five were the ones who saved me.
Now, this is a bit of a thinker. If Optimus Prime didn't create the Ariel bots in the future, they couldn't have saved him in the past. But if they didn't save him in the past, he never would have become Optimus Prime or been around at all. So this is kind of a paradox.
It ain't a paradox. You mean one of those things that can destroy the universe?
Okay, maybe not a paradox, more like a loop. Were the Ariel bots always meant to be created, go back in time, save Orion Pax, who is rebuilt into Optimus Prime, and then, 9 million years later, he would create the Ariel bots in the first place? This episode also marks the return of Starscream after Megatron nearly killed him in the episode Hoist Goes Hollywood. Again, I wonder how this would have changed the future had Starscream died in that episode instead of in Transformers the movie. Starscream was the one that lured the Ariel bots into the trap. I suppose any of the other Seekers could have done so as well. But let's say that, disgusted by Megatron's murdering of Starscream, all the Seekers decided to not follow Megatron anymore, kind of becoming a semi-rogue Decepticon group, sort of like the Insecticons. Without any Decepticon jets to bait the Autobots ones, would Megatron have successfully lured them into the Chronosphere? Well, I guess he'd still have the Triple Changers. Do they still count as Seekers or no? But yeah, anyways, Starscream is back. Yay! Enjoy it while you can. You've only got a handful of episodes left before the movie. Oh, and speaking of characters dying, what about the fate of poor Dion? I know many fans have speculated that he was rebuilt as either Ultra Magnus or Ironhide. Personally, I think Ultra Magnus is more logical because he's a repaint of Optimus Prime. And Alpha Trion would have used the same schematics to rebuild Dion as he did with Orion Pax. Although he did say the same about Ariel, and Elita 1 looks nothing like Optimus Prime. Plus, maybe Dion was more heavily damaged. Or maybe because it took him longer to get to him, since he had to rebuild Orion and Ariel first, perhaps Dion needed more reconstruction. Or maybe even some form of life support. Maybe that's what his trailer is, and why we never see him without it. Perhaps it's helping keep him alive. You know, kind of like Darth Vader's suit. Which reminds me, doesn't Orion Pax, Ariel, and Dion's little triad remind you of Optimus, Elita, and Sentinel in Transformers Animated? Dion even has the same colors as Sentinel Prime. Coincidence? Maybe we could retcon that Dion was actually rebuilt into a G1 Sentinel Prime, but we just never see him again. Yes, I know that this Rhino truck guy was already retconned into being G1 Sentinel Prime. His color scheme is even similar. His alt mode also kind of matches Dion's as well. You know what? This episode already has time travel in it. There must be a way that we can explain how this Sentinel Prime and Dion are the same character. Could Dion have been rebuilt into Sentinel Prime and then somehow been sent back in time? Back to the time of the Quintessons? Maybe he even helped start the revolution. But then later, during the war between the Autobots and Decepticons, we see that he was apparently the first Autobot to learn to transform. Maybe he could always transform because he was from the future, and he helped teach the others. Sentinel also had the Matrix of Leadership, which he then passed to a younger Alpha Trion in the past. So did Alpha Trion give the Matrix to Sentinel Prime in War Dawn, so that he could give it to himself in the past? But then he gives it to Sentinel Prime again. Let's just say that Sentinel somehow obtained the Matrix in the past. Maybe he got it from Prima, who is apparently supposed to be this Cyclonus-looking guy that he's fighting in the Quintesson gladiatorial pit. Maybe he passed the Matrix to Sentinel, who then passed it to Alpha Trion, who would eventually pass it to his old buddy, Optimus Prime. Yeah, let's go with that. That would be a nice way to tie up that story. As to exactly how Sentinel Prime would end up in the past, who knows? Maybe it was the Quintessons. We do see in Season 3 that they were trying to mess with time. Maybe they were trying to do the inverse of what Megatron's original goal was, which was to use the Chronosphere to steal energy from the past. Instead, maybe the Quintessons were trying to steal powerful technology or weapons from the future in order to maintain their dominance over their robot slaves. And their time machine just happened to lock on the most powerful weapon on Cybertron at the time, the Matrix of Leadership, pulling Sentinel Prime along with it.
Great Scott.
I know, this is heavy.
Okay, now that is awesome. Hasbro, we need to make this happen. This needs to be like an OVA or something. Please let me write this. We can do a G1 special. Just like the Cyberverse specials, but this is set in the G1 cartoon and in the G1 art style. But speaking of Megatron's plan to steal energy from the past, wasn't that Beast Wars Megatron's plan too? I think this further cements my theory that G1 Megatron somehow learned about Beast Megatron's exploits, either through the mingling of their sparks, or perhaps Beast Megatron left some kind of journal or diary on board the Nemesis, which G1 Megatron later found after the episode Microbots, where they found their old warship. Again, I would love to do that story as some kind of special too, Hasbro, if you're listening. But yeah, I think that's going to do it for this review. This was an amazing episode, and easily my favorite episode in all of G1. You've got time travel, you've got the origin of Optimus Prime, and you've got the adorable young Autobots, Orion Pax, Ariel, and Dion. I wish we could have seen more of them and Cybertron in this time before or at the beginning of the war. Well, what about you? What did you think of this episode of G1? Let me know down in the comments. Remember to like, subscribe, and do all that other fun stuff. And I'll see you here next time for the episode Trans-Europe Express. What? There was a trans episode of G1? Oh, apparently not that type of trans. Oh well, I'll see you here next time for that.